What's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 476. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez,
Sup, people? What's going on?
Chris Seeley,
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero,
Yo.
Brett Murdoch,
What? Deja vu. What's up?
and Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
All right, man, we're back with another one. As usual, Brian will probably join us an hour later because daylight saving time happens every year. And
Just
yeah,
real quick to interject, our audio on our end, not yours, Tony, is a little bit high on the gain.
Ooh.
So maybe lower a little bit.
little bit
blown out.
lower. I could do that. Vamp it a little bit, Manny. Why isn't the government getting rid of daylight saving time, but they could get rid of TikTok? Which I'm for. Get rid of TikTok. Get rid of that fucking Chinese psyop. But
I don't,
yeah.
to be honest, I don't actually fully know. I feel like that just it becomes a talking point when they want to get reelected and stuff. Like, hey, we gotta get rid of this thing you don't like, you know.
Yeah. But by the way, real quick,
It's kind of like
yeah,
I feel like a lot of times, like when it comes to like when elections and stuff are about to happen or the electoral year happens, it's kind of like when the mayor of a city wants to get reelected and they all of a sudden start fixing up all the roads.
Yeah.
To sort of be like, oh hey, we do things. We roads are all fixed up.
Yeah. Yo, Carlos, how's the gain right now?
Yeah, Manny sounds good.
Yep, I just lowered it just a little bit, All right, first up, I want to give a huge shout out to my man's C. Iverson 29 in the chat. For you guys who don't know, that is my eldest nephew. So shout out to him. I gave him a shout out on the last show, when we were talking about Akira Toriyama, because that motherfucker loves Dragon Ball as much as me, even though we're like fucking 20 years apart, it's crazy. Generational, man. And also, if you haven't already, I took that clip of us talking about Akira Toriyama. It was 12 minutes, 13 minutes or something. Like, yo, that's a good clip. That was our way of honoring him. So go check that out. It was a good talk.
So we resurrected
Throwdown clips
for a little bit there.
Yeah, accidentally resurrected it.
I feel like when those moments come along and we have those really good like moments like on the fan, I definitely think just doing a little throwdown clip on there still still viable.
Yeah, for sure. So that was good. It was a good talk too. It was actually a good history lesson that we kind of gave people inadvertently. Learning how all that happened. But yeah, anyway, we're back with another one this week. Some interesting stuff happened, but it wasn't as crazy as last week, obviously. But the first story, we're gonna get into what it is, and then I gotta do my shit talking, man, because I gotta call out the hypocrisy in the industry. But let's get into it, man. So a trailer for Spider-Man multiplayer was leaked. Insomniac Spider-Man, and I'm gonna read this from and apologies for reading it from this site, by the way, Kotaku. They're in all other sorts of trouble, but we're not talking about that. Oh man, Kotaku doesn't stop with the bullshit. Anyway, earlier today, a trailer for an unannounced and reportedly canceled online Spider-Man spin-off game from Insomniac leaked onto Reddit and social media. The trailer showcases multiple players taking on the roles of various famous spider heroes while exploring New York City and other universes. In the leaked trailer for Spider-Man The Great Web, that was the name, we hear Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker introducing the concept of the game, explaining that, here's a quote, sometimes you can swing at it as a lone wolf, but you're way better off with some friends. He also worries that the evil Sinister Six group, if we know who the Sinister Six is, are ramping up their activities and becoming more dangerous and quote unquote savage. I don't think I'm going to be enough this time, guys. But together we might just be. So multiverse bullshit. So the trailer has Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man 2099, and Venom, and multiverse nonsense. So yeah, so that got leaked.
Good.
Good.
It didn't, and the thing about it is didn't just get leaked.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the
hypocrisy.
That was a part, and that had showed up a while ago. That was a part of that large leak that we found out a whole bunch of behind the scenes information. That was one of them.
Okay, I can't hold myself back. I can't hold myself back. I got to call it hypocrisy. Okay, because you guys remember when that big Insomniac leak happened, most gaming sites did not report on it because they're like, oh no, because people's public information was displayed. They ruined a bunch of games, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's kind of interesting given how you guys report on every other leak, but that was the industry narrative. Throwdown never went with that narrative, by the way. The only reason we didn't report on it when it happened is because we were on vacation. But the first episode back this year, that was the main story. We talked about those fucking leaks, right? So when this happened, you know me, man. I took to Twitter. I'm like, oh, so now it's okay to talk about Insomniac leaks? People are like, oh, no, that's different. People's personal information was revealed. I'm like, yeah, but this leak came from that leak. What's the difference? And you saw the goalpost moving. Oh, no, it's different because, we were spoiled about upcoming games. This was a canceled game. Like that makes a difference. Like that makes a difference. Get the fuck out of here. This came from the same leak that you guys said we weren't supposed to talk about, but now we could talk about it. No, it's fucking bullshit, man.
Well, I find it funny that these people didn't have a problem talking all about the Rockstar leaks or the Capcom leaks or the CD Projekt Red leaks that actually had employee information, including their salaries and all that stuff. They had no problem talking about that. This was, oh no, can't talk about Insomniac.
Yeah, isn't that interesting, And again, like I said with the original one, we're like, oh, we can't talk about these leaks because people's personal information was disclosed. Okay, don't talk about that personal information, right? The game leaks are fair game to talk about, You do it all the time. You guys do it all the time. But suddenly it's 3 months later. Now we could talk about it. Come on, man. It's fucking bullshit, bro. So I had to call that out. Anyway, would you get if you guys, the trailer was taken down, by the way. So for you guys who did see it, what would you think of it?
I mean, it was interesting. I mean, it definitely I remember a while ago saying, how do you make a multiplayer Spider-Man game? Oh, you just literally, cut a hole in the Spider-Verse, and then all the other characters that you see there are all people, characters.
Yeah,
are all things. And to be honest, they actually did sort of set this up with that one what did they call it? There was a Spider-Verse type of mission within the Spider-Man 2, where you sort of meet that one lady, that bartender lady. And, you're collecting those spider bots. So, yeah, the idea is like, okay, so now it's like, what if you were playing with your friend as like Miles or the other characters? I mean, it sounds interesting to me, but I feel like at the same time, it's like having them essentially attempt to stick in like what, it's probably going to end up being like the looter shooter type of idea, right? Where you constantly fighting the same villains over and over again, and in an effort to unlock things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the Suicide Squad deal. It's kind of like the Arkham, not the Arkham Origins. What was the name of that? The Gotham Knights.
Yeah, that bullshit.
It's amazing how all these motherfuckers had the same ideas at the same time. It's all the same shit, all recycle around each other, the same stuff. All of them attempting to try to do this stuff. And it sucks that it's like it stinks because a lot of these companies wasted so much time on them, on this fruitless effort.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get to that in a bit, but I got to give the devil his due right now, man. Kotaku reported on this story back in December 19th last year. Here's the list of every game. So they at least did their due diligence as reporters. You can't just be like, oh, I'm a reporter, but I'm not going to report on that. Come on, bro. You know, so they
be,
and Manny, look at this right here. 2024 Spider-Man 2 multiplayer game. It's right there. This is from December 19th, 2023. So this was already known. You know, it came. This trailer came from that leak. So you can't be telling me that they're two separate things. No, we learned about that from that fucking leak that you didn't want us to talk about. You know? Oh, by the way, I found it funny, man. Keeping it real. When I posted that on Twitter, a lot of people were tagging Greg Miller. Didn't say nothing, though. Because he was the main guy. Oh, I'm not going to report on this. I'm not going to report on this. Because this is a breach of violation. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, bro.
Yeah, well, he's talking about it, right?
Talking about it now. And it's from the same fucking leak from last year, bro. Come on, man.
I think a lot of that situation is them not trying to piss off Sony.
Yeah.
Or piss off PlayStation.
Let's be real. Yeah.
I think that's what it all is. I think it's because Greg Miller is like, he's, Mr. PlayStation, I mean, he might have even gotten a thing from one of his boys at, up top at Sony saying, hey, listen, there's all this shit that's going out there. Please don't say anything about it, and maybe obviously put out the thing. Oh, hey, because there's a lot of people's information, and we don't want people, looking at all that stuff.
Yeah,
and I think
everybody else in the industry followed suit, or most people.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I could definitely see that as a reasoning to try to hold back information. But what makes this different than what happened with CD Projekt Red? What makes this any different than what happened with Capcom? What makes this different to this happening to a lot of different companies, that these breaches have had, that have affected?
There is no difference. The only difference, I'm saying, and let's be real.
Yep.
Let's be real here. And Rich, I'll let you go next. If this happened at Xbox, Microsoft, I guarantee you, every website would have reported on it. Every one of them, But yeah, Rich, what are your thoughts on the trailer and the blatant hypocrisy going on here?
Well, I agree 1,000% that the hypocrisy is absolutely absurd. As for the trailer itself, to me, this looked like this was very, very far in development. I mean, the responses I've seen online is people, there's some anger as to why it's not coming out, because it doesn't look like there is I don't know how much work they still had to do on this when it got canceled, but it looked to me like this clearly was like ready to launch like soon.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I understand they spent a lot of money on this and it got canceled, but I think we all know some of this content is probably going to be in Spider-Man 3, because I imagine they spent even more money on that game. They're going to try to use what they can from the assets to put it in this other game too. Yeah.
And, like you said, this looked finished, and right here, again, posted in December of last year, 2024, Spider-Man game, multiplayer. So it was supposed to come out this year. But now the big question is, why did they cancel it? Something that was that effectively looked finished. This is where we go into speculation mode. But it could be because now they kind of see the tide turning when it comes to these live service games. You saw what happened to Suicide Squad, another superhero game, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, this game is better than Suicide Squad, but I will say maybe they got some consultation from Bungie, and Bungie said no. We said don't even dare release Last of Us Factions, and no, you damn sure shouldn't release this game either.
Yeah.
Maybe
but I do agree with you that the canceled Spider-Man multiplayer, the game that doesn't exist, is better than Suicide Squad. I agree with you on that. Suicide Squad is trash, But yeah, again, I do find this very interesting. But yeah, I'm wondering if the tide is turning on these games, And again, it's like, Okay, because we know Spider-Man 2 cost $300 million. I'm wondering if that was also part of the cost, this now canceled game, you know? It's interesting, man. And the other question is, yeah, who asked for this? Who asked for a Spider-Man multiplayer game, you know? And again, this would have been another situation of, hey, that company that does the narrative games, make them do multiplayer. Yes, I understand Insomniac has done some multiplayer stuff. At least they have that going for them, you know? But still, it's kind of the same. I don't know, man. It's wild, but me personally, I don't need a Spider-Man multiplayer game. I'm good. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Plot
to be
twist,
honest,
the reason they scrapped is with Sweet Baby Inc. Bum, bum, bum.
You know. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like, do we really need? I mean, it would be a fun thing if your Miles in the game was actually somebody that was actually somebody else, right? Playing through the game. But at the same time, it's like, do we like Spider-Man in general is really all about like this the narrative of Spider-Man. You know, you can totally see them turning this into just a cycle of constantly like, oh, hey, beat this guy up. Well, you know, hey, look, it's an alternate version of Dr. Octopus with a different color outfit. Oh, he's even stronger than the other one.
Yeah.
So it's
sorry, go ahead.
it's
I
sort
didn't
of
mean to
like-
interrupt.
it's sort of just that sort of same cycle that these companies, these multiplayer things seem to do. And I don't know, man. Like I don't really think we need something like that for Spider-Man, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Brett, what's up?
I think, and I'm not the only person that thinks this, that Spider-Man is going to do kind of the same thing that most likely God of War is going to do, where they kind of replace their main protagonist with somebody new, either Atreus or Miles Morales. Like, I think it's pretty clear that Miles Morales is going to be the future headliner of Insomniac Spider-Man games. And I don't think it would have been smart for them to kind of start that with Miles Morales is the game, you know, the DLC standalone game and the character your friend plays. That gives them a very Tails from Sonic and Tails kind of thing. And I'm not sure that's how you want to... Like, Tails will never be able to carry a franchise because he's always the second runner, you know, the second string, the sidekick, the not original. And as much as I don't think that they should replace Peter Parker with Miles Morales, I can tell you that making him the co-op option would definitely seal that in people's minds.
But here's the thing, like, you know, okay, let's say, you know, we had a game with Miles and Peter, right? You know, where the other character, the one that's always, you know, second to you, is playing the other character. So like, no matter who you're playing, if, you know, in other words, let's say you're playing a Miles Morales playthrough, right? You know, somebody else is actually playing Spider-Man in that situation. Or let's say vice versa. Spider-Man is being played by you. Then you're teamed up with a Miles Morales player. I don't see that as a bad thing. But at the same time, it's like, I really also think that do we really need to have something like that? And I don't think that we do. I think once you start getting into that realm of cycle of gaming, where in other words we're you know, especially with a title that is so very story driven, when we started getting into that thing like where now we just keep serving you up different colored, bad guys so that you can grind up some more loot. And, you know, essentially we're trying to do Spider-Man Destiny or the Avengers game, which is that situation. In other words, hey, look, you're grinding costumes that do things to your characters to make them better. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Here's something that's interesting. Okay, again, I'm looking at.
If they really
go ahead.
If they really wanted to do this idea, they could literally just make up their own superhero and not have to pay the licensing fee to Disney to do that.
Oh, you mean when Insomniac had, actually that was not Insomniac, but remember Sucker Punch? They had a superhero franchise,
They had a superhero franchise right there. So theoretically, I would say, like, if you're going to go down this road, instead of doing it with a licensed franchise, which literally costs you money for putting these things out, and they collect a X amount of money from you as you're doing this stuff, I think the better situation would be like, no, if we're going to do this sort of superhero idea, let's take something that we have already and then apply it to that. You could kind of do infamous multiplayer, superhero game if you wanted to.
If
but
you
again,
wanted to, yeah.
That also the market has proven that doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay, this is what I find interesting. So, again, I'm looking at the leaked games here. That wasn't the only multiplayer game they were going to work on. This is check this out. I'm going to read all the games, too. So this year, we're supposed to get a Spider-Man game, right? Spider-Man 2 multiplayer game. Next year, Venom. Year after that, Wolverine. Year after that, Wolverine multiplayer. Then the year after that, Spider-Man 3. Here's where it gets really interesting. An X-Men multiplayer game in 2028. Then a single-player game in 2029. And look at that. Whoa. Ooh. 2031 through 2035. New IPs, finally. But so they wanted to make a Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, and X-Men multiplayer. So my question is, if this Spider-Man multiplayer got canceled, are you going to cancel the other ones too?
I would think so.
Very interesting.
Well, listen, if you look at they also posted the other thing that got leaked was what the percentage of what Marvel takes from any sort of their things. It's a lot of money that they're pulling.
How much was it? Do you know? The percentage?
I don't remember. It's a pretty hefty percentage of that they get off of their sales, which goes into the fact that they say that the situation is like, obviously Spider-Man did really well, but a lot of that money didn't go toward Insomniac or PlayStation themselves. A lot of it went over to Marvel for the license of that Spider-Man franchise. And I can see why they're trying to put if anything, they're going to they're going to pull the belt tight on all of this stuff now. Because it's like, why are we concentrating on all this established IP when we're spending so much money to have it? I think, and that's what the shift we sort of heard about, right? Obviously the mysterious thing. Oh, hey, a bunch of multiplayer games got. They had 12 multiplayer games supposedly in development. We don't know how many. We at least know maybe 3 of them that have already been canceled. How many of them? How many of those have been canceled, and how many of them are things that are established IP related? Helldivers didn't get killed. Why? Because they own Helldivers.
Yeah.
And they don't. And it was a lower budgeted game, so it's a win for Sony on that one. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see if there are any multiplayer things that are going to be left in the line. It's going to be their own IP, and it's not going to have a nutty budget like something some of their bigger budgeted games.
Yeah. And then my other question is for anybody here on the panel and the chat: would you have wanted a Spider-Man multiplayer game?
I'll let Rich
I thought it was fascinating the way they're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. How do you do multiplayer with Spider-Man? All right, you put multiple guys in it. So would I have wanted it? Not really. But I found their mental leap interesting. Oh, hey, how do you get multiplayer out of Spider-Man? Oh, multiverse.
Yeah. You already know my answer, but Rich, go ahead. I know you're very upset right now that this game's not coming.
I'm not upset. I know Carlos is, but to respond to what he just said, we already got a Spider-Man multiplayer game. It's called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The movie is the game, so no, we don't need it. We don't need a game. We saw the movie. That was a lot of Spider-Man in that movie. I'm good now. We don't need no multiplayer.
I'll just like to be on the record and say that I'm disappointed that we didn't get Spider-Man Factions. And when Sony said they were working on 10 live service games, they must have been lying, because there's a shit ton of these multiplayer games that are coming out, and I doubt this Spider-Man game would have been just a regular standard multiplayer. So yeah, it's crazy just how like the direction and the focus that Sony's doing with these studios. It's like, who can Naughty Dog give me a multiplayer game for The Last of Us? No, but we'll sure work on it. Can was his Insomniac working on this, or was it someone else?
That's a good question. Was Insomniac going to license it to somebody else? But it doesn't say anything about that I saw.
Yeah, and working on a Spider-Man multiplayer game, working on they already got Helldivers, they got Destiny and Marathon, they got all of these freaking multiplayer games. They got the Jade Raymond game, and they got the game that got canceled recently. I forgot Devotions to. I forgot what the name of the studios that just
Deviation Games.
Deviation Games was working on one of those as well, and yeah, that's what gaming has come down to for Sony at this point. Not looking good.
Yeah, shit is crazy, man. Let's see. Quit all these. This is from Berserker Guts. What's up, brother? He goes, quit all these dumb multiplayer games and get the Wolverine game out faster instead. I don't know, man. I don't know about that Wolverine game now, to be honest, because a certain consulting group is probably going to be involved too. So, yeah. All right, let's move on, man. This one's kind of interesting. I don't know why this decided to pop up, because it's a new story. Actually, no. You know what? I'll skip this one. This is actually from. It is more. This is how fucked up I am from daylight savings time. I look at March 11th. I'm like, oh, March 11th. That was months ago. No, it's not. 3 days ago, motherfucker. But regardless, this thing is something that was discovered from like 15 years ago. I'm reading this from Fandom Wire. Let me see. Oh, bullet points. Thank you. Based on an interview with the former head of Xbox, the console generation was pretty much going to end after the Xbox 360. The story is basically that Microsoft was already entertaining the idea of like kind of just exiting the console market 15 years ago. I told you guys this would happen. Every year, consistently. Motherfucking daylight savings time, Brian shows up an hour late. What's going on, Brian?
Nothing much, guys.
Yeah, you already know, man. Brian, I love the predictability, man.
Actually, the funny thing is, it's been 10 years, and yet I still do it, and that's what's so fun. It's like, I just don't learn.
Yeah, it's all right. Daylight savings time is trash. But before we move on to this section, Brian, did you see the news about the leaked Spider-Man multiplayer game?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I 100% agree with what you say, Tony. Like, they're now reporting leaks again.
Yeah. You weren't here to hear my mini rant earlier this episode, because I'm like, okay, because Brian, I don't know if you saw the goalpost being shifted. The first one was actually, okay, so first one was like, okay, so you guys are now reporting on this. Oh, no, this is different. This is from, something that was canceled. But I'm like, you realize this leak, we heard about this specific leak, the multiplayer, back in December. Oh, no, but, no people's data was put out. It's from the same leak, so it was the same data. Where's the consistency here? It's the same. It's from the same fucking leak that you didn't want to talk about. Now we can talk about it. Okay. And Brian, a shocker to you. You know who actually did report? Okay, because websites weren't reporting on this. You know who reported on this? Kotaku, of all places. They report on the leak. They reported about this multiplayer game back in December. Isn't that interesting?
Very.
The same Sweet Baby Ink defenders. Those guys, Shit is crazy. Okay, but yeah, Brian, I already knew where your head was at with this. It's the hypocrisy that bugs me the most, man. You know, oh, Greg Miller said we can't talk about it, so we can't talk about it. Let's talk about this. But it's from the same league. But it wasn't from a game that was unannounced. Yes, it was from the same league. You know, come on, man, bullshit. You know. Anyway, let's move on here. Again, this story here is that apparently Xbox wanted to exit the console wars like 15 years ago during the 360 era, which was the only true successful era for Xbox. Let's just be honest about that. So here's some bullet points. Based on an interview with the former head of Xbox, the console generation was pretty much coming to an end after the Xbox 360. This was due to unexpected sales and a lack of projected vision for the console era going forward. Fortunately, a shift towards newer technology, especially cloud gaming, has changed the industry's perspective. That's, them editorializing, obviously. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it's interesting because since like 2015, when Xbox started bringing their games to PC, we on Throwdown, yes, we've been around that long, have been saying, hey, this kind of makes sense for a software company to not focus so much on hardware. Microsoft, I know Microsoft has, hardware as well, but they're primarily a software company. And now we see how they want to have all their shit everywhere, more software focused. So this makes sense. By the way, the head of Xbox in question, our boy, Peter Moore, very interesting. But yeah, the things would have been a lot different if they would have exited during that time, because, the 360 was a huge success and it kind of helped usher in, this multiplayer focused world we now have,
Yeah. But it also proves that trying to not doing your due diligence as a company and quickly tossing out a console also doesn't help things either. They were lucky that when they put that thing out, it literally got the head start.
Yeah. But it's interesting that we're talking about this before.
Same momentum.
Yeah. Okay. I want to read this. The truth is that Peter and the team were deeply speculating whether or not consoles were really the future of the industry. As it turns out, Microsoft was under the impression that the console tech and sales just weren't enough to sustain for a foreseeable future, which is kind of what they're saying now. They're basically, Phil Spencer has flat out said, we are not in the console wars anymore. He said that, So it's kind of interesting that Microsoft was already talking about these things that they are now talking about, in the current day back 15 years ago, Mm-hmm. They were talking about like, maybe we should be multi-platform. Very because that's one of the big narratives that's going around right now, So yeah, very, very interesting right there to hear that. But again, software company, I'm not too surprised,
Exactly. Like why would they, why would they want to continue with something like that when they literally can spread as wide of a net as possible,
Yeah. And that's what they're doing now, apparently. They're putting all their games, not all their games, but they're putting some games as a test.
This is, right now what's going on is the toe dip.
The toe dip.
Yeah. They're toe dipping and seeing what kind of money they can get out of doing multi-platform sales. So what was the first one to come out, right? It was that what the hell was the name of that game?
Which one?
The medieval game the medieval type game that's coming. That came out. They already had one that already released.
Pentiment, yeah.
Pentiment was the first of those releases. Coming up next week is Hi-Fi Rush, and the last one is Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
So it's all
Grounded.
It's all the
When's
test
that coming?
phase.
When's that coming?
Grounded? I don't know when.
I
Grounded
remember
is.
it was 4 games. That was the other one.
It was 4 games. Let's see.
Yeah.
Grounded.
Any of y'all looking to play Dragon's Dogma 2? Brian is, and even I might play that shit,
The release date for Grounded on PS5.
Yeah, CK, a couple of weeks. Actually, I think it was last week. When is it, Manny? April what?
It says released. Excuse me. I don't know why it says. Grounded was digitally released on April 16th for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch.
Interesting.
So April 16th. Yeah. So
Yeah.
We in the thing.
Yeah. CK last week because I went to an event to play Dragon's Dogma for 3 hours, so you could go to Tom's Guide, read that, or check out last week's episode or the week before that, the main show, to hear my impressions on it. But yeah, again, I find this very interesting how Microsoft was talking about the same thing 15 years ago. You know.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
none of this. A lot of times, here's the thing. Like, as one of those guys, you see where your money is going.
Mm-hmm.
You see what's going to be happening. Again, we keep throwing up, former head of Sony, Sony PlayStation, saying the AAA aspect cannot be sustained. We need to lower our budgets and essentially maximize, essentially put out more titles, and then also, those smaller titles will also lead to innovation. Because he even said there's another interview, even very recently, that came out, which he said the same thing. Innovation doesn't happen with those high budget games. It's just usually just like, it's like graphical. It's not really like, okay, we're doing this, we're going crazy here. That's how you do it. You do it when you don't have a big overhead as far as budget, and you have one thing that you do right. And a lot of you see it even within right now for years on the indie space, a bunch of people doing these sorts of things. What was for a game like what was that Journey? What was that? Passive online mode.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different games that had all these little things that they did that eventually made their way into bigger games.
Yeah, that's true. All right, moving on here. This one's very interesting. So Saber Interactive has split from the Embracer Group, taking 38 video game projects with it. They freed themselves, man. They freed themselves because Embracer, man, that's a very scummy company, man. Killing studios left and right. These guys like, fuck that shit. We're out.
No, they don't want to. They don't want to do that stuff, man. Fuck that.
But they were fortunate that they had the equity to do it. It cost $500 million to divest.
Shit.
That's not chump change. $500 million to break away. How many studios can cough up that kind of money?
Bungie. Bungie did it. But
Bungie and Saber. Saber's been around forever, so is Bungie. But okay, they could do it, but most others can't. They just look at Volition; they're gone.
Yeah.
Obliterated.
Oh, the guys that the guys that did Hitman too. They also pulled away from Square Enix.
Yeah. Oh yeah, IO Interactive, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, no, Chris, that's a good point. It's like not a lot of studios, they're still hostages there. Yeah. That's the only way I could describe them. They're hostages.
What the hell was Embracer thinking, man? They clearly got in over themselves.
Clearly, they were trying to embrace the idea of taking as many game companies as possible and try to make a lot of money. That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
man, it's like taking all of these responsibilities and thinking, it's like having 5 wives. It's like, yeah, that sounds cool, but man.
Oh man, I was just about to say something. I'm about to get in trouble with a certain religious group, But yeah, so yeah, the deal is initially valued at $247 million. Fuck, that's a lot of money, man. I'm reading this from IGN. There are a number of interesting points in the deal. For example, Beacon Interactive has the option right to acquire Metro developer 4A Games and pinball developer Zen Studios for fixed price within a certain time period. According to Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier, Beacon Interactive has indeed decided to buy both studios. Long-term license and publishing rights to all current and future PC and console games in the Metro franchise are held within the Embracer operative group. I can't pronounce that. So, does Embracer still own that franchise then? I didn't really get that.
Yeah, that didn't
make any sense. That wasn't very clear. Yeah. But yeah, man, pretty crazy stuff. I wonder what other studios can. I think that's the better question asked: what studios can break away from Embracer? You know, because that's a lot of money.
Oh, by the way, J Shep put something in the chat.
Yo,
He
yo.
said they got screwed over by the Saudi group, and then I noticed that in 2022, one of their biggest owners of Embracer is Savvy Games Group, which is a wholly owned Saudi Arabian trust investment fund, and they invested over $1 billion, I think like 2 years ago. So I think that's why they got a whole influx of acquisitions that Embracer got. It's like, let's take all of them.
Yeah.
Let's take the lot, and that the ramifications are slowly but surely manifesting themselves right now.
Yeah, and then Jay Gunn saw a shift in the industry, and he's like, "No more money."
I need
No
my
more.
money. Oh man. But yeah, good on them. Good on Saber Interactive to do that. You know, they should try to buy some of the other studios from Embracer, free their brothers. You know, shit is crazy. All right, Berserker Guts. We didn't actually talk about that, so we will now. We got to talk about Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. It's a fucking disaster, apparently. Ain't that something? You know, and it's the same studio that fucked up another port too. Let me see.
They do the GTA port.
No, it's not. It's not. Grove Street Games. It's another one here. Let me read this.
Oh, is it Night Dive Studio? Was it that?
Not sure. I'll read. I'll figure this out when I'm reading this. The Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is facing review bombing on Steam due to multiplayer issues. So that's fucked up. Players are experiencing problems with server availability, rubber banding, spawning, and clunky controls. Despite the rocky start, developer Asper, that's who made it, Manny. Developer Asper has the potential to fix the issues and reach the collection's full potential. This sounds like another Master Chief Collection situation, man. You know, but yeah, I know people are, and here's the thing, when this game was announced, motherfuckers were hyped, you know, because they wanted the classic Battlefront games, not the bullshit ones that we got now. And they were pretty stoked about this, and they got fucked over, basically, you know. There's only 4 servers, really? Okay. How does that work?
They obviously underestimated their stuff, kind of like the way Helldivers did too. So
Yeah.
but at least Helldivers was able to what do they call it, to address a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe these guys will, but I'm wondering if, like, people will stop caring by then, you know? Because people are pissed off. Those same clowns are working on the KOTOR remake. Ooh, boy. Didn't that shit get canceled?
Thought it did.
Yeah, I thought it got canceled. But wasn't there like 2 KOTOR remakes? I'm not sure. But I remember that being canceled, one of them. 4 servers is nothing. That's 4 developer PCs sitting in a random room. They said it's still in development. Okay, well, you know, I guess good luck with that, man. Brian, weren't you a fan of these original Battlefront games?
A massive fan, which is why it's very odd that they mess it up. Because again, these are PS2 games. Yeah, PS2 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can mess them up that badly. Because I've been seeing footage where like the things like the whole graphics are all just not clipping. All just glitched out, and all the textures are like green and blue and all sorts, like some sort of shader problems, I guess. It just looks really fucked up, and I heard that the file sizes are massive, apparently, so it's like, why? Makes no sense. But the other thing that really gets me is these are the same guys that did the Tomb Raider remasters, and they came out
That was pretty good.
That was
right?
yeah.
And that was like last month and the month prior.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised why this is so bad.
Yeah, that is weird. I wonder why they fucked that one up. You know, these are PS2 games, like you said. You know, Tomb Raider were PS1 games, so they got those right, but not PS2 games. I don't know, man. But
Whatever happened to scale it up?
yeah, scale it up. That's all you got. Just flip a button. You know, That's what they said, man. But apparently it's not the case. So, yeah, if you're a Star Wars Battlefront fan, that sucks. Don't they have the manpower? Who knows, man? It could be just plain incompetence. That people got to talk about that too. Some studios are just not talented,
Or it could be just resource crunching.
Why do publishers outsource porting? Because it's simpler, I guess. Manny, why is that?
Well,
why do they outsource?
Well, it's because you outsource because you can get things for cheaper.
Yeah.
You put it, you give it, just like anything, you have a bunch of different studios out there, and you put it out there like, okay, we're looking to have somebody port this game, and then they'll just look to see has the price which was within their budget. That's the same with anything. Why does anybody outsource?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of seeing the talent, not only, getting, not only is that, but also seeing the talent that is there. Sometimes what will happen a lot of times is these companies will underestimate the ability of a studio. One thing, a lot of times what happens is you'll see a studio, let's say, that has a lot of really impressive work they have done in the past, right? But they were just, there's no guarantee that the people that made that really impressive thing still work at that studio, because they could have all been freelance, or they were one name in a bunch of names that worked on a specific title. So they may have done trees for for some other game, but their name is still on that thing as somebody who's actually worked on it. So obviously a company doesn't, obviously you have a good eye, you can tell the difference, but sometimes you can't. You're like, okay, wow, they've done this amazing work. Well, they can do that for us for this one, right? And that's how those sorts of situations happen.
Yeah.
But again, most of it is really budget based.
Yeah, budget, and also, there is sometimes the manpower thing too. It's like, hey, we have X amount of people working on this more priority you're not going to give the same priority to a remake that you will to a new game, for example. So you got to kind of allocate that. That's how freelancing works too. Again, I'm just using me as an example, but every site does this. When you have your main core staff writers working on higher priority things, but something big comes around or something important like a news thing, you freelance it to somebody else, So it's like that. Here's the thing. Outsourcing is not inherently a bad thing. It's necessary in a lot of cases. It's just sometimes you will get burned,
Yeah.
Not every studio is going to be able to take on every single project. They have to, delegate that to, other studios when they can. And again, it is cheaper too.
Yeah. So
that's just the reality of things, man. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a lot of different factors that cause these things to happen. And hopefully the main crew could get in on there and start, and get it to look up to snuff,
Yeah. So there's that, but yeah, it kind of sucks if you're, a fan of those games. All right, so moving on here. Our boy, Stig Asmussen, is going to make a new AAA narrative-driven single-player action-adventure game in his new studio that he's going to found, Stig Asmussen, the director of God of War 3, which is one of the best fucking games ever, and he also did the whatchamacallit, the Jedi Survivor games,
I mean, he's been an
around.
Industry guy for years.
Yeah.
Like he worked on all of the original trilogy of God of War.
Yeah, in some capacity.
He was on the first one. He worked on environments on the two previous ones, and God of War 3 was his turn in the seat after Cory Barlog had left.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be honest, like, with the way things have sort of gone with the previous, with their working at EA, because he left EA. I feel like this is a really good thing for him. I'd like to definitely. He's obviously proven that when the stakes were down, he was able to create a very cool game with that Star Wars game. So all power to him. And also have to say it's very cool. I'm not very cool, but it's ironically a pretty good time to open a new studio.
It is,
especially with so many companies bleeding talent right now. Also, side note, our good buddy Jeff, right?
Keighley?
He actually said
Jeff
something.
Keighley.
He actually said something
Yeah,
about this.
let's put a pin on that. Let's talk about that next. I'm glad. Yeah, don't want to. You guys in the Discord didn't talk about that. That's why I didn't see it. But yeah, I mean, I do want to discuss that actually. Very interesting. But yeah, so the name of the studio is going to be called Giant Skull, and like I said, it's going to be focused on creating AAA narrative-driven single-player games, which is what Stig specializes in.
Does.
So that's good. And this is something we'll talk about more on the Sunday show because we got a question about this. But again, a game being AAA doesn't mean it needs to be open world. You can still make a AAA game that's 10 hours long, and just be
here's the thing,
quality,
A lot. I think the thing to understand is that a lot of things that we consider AAA games.
Yeah.
These are games that were made by smaller studios.
Yeah.
Like a lot, who made some of those. What was it? There was some of the Star Wars games. Those were all like smaller studios working underneath the banner of was at the time THQ. So AAA can be a world that what is considered AAA can come from a smaller studio, especially with so many of the engines being the way they are, where it's like it's not relatively simple, but you can build off a lot of you can make, if you have an Unreal Engine license, you can make something even just pretty decent looking just by using their usual stuff.
There was a game like that not so long ago called Hellblade that was just that.
Mm-hmm.
The game was not AAA, but it looked AAA as fuck,
Yeah, and I think that was that in essence was their proof of concept of saying, okay, yes, we can do a high quality looking sort of a game and still keep the budget down.
Yep.
And also do the things that they're sort of known for. Like they're known for doing narrative-driven games, actor-driven games where they have a lot of motion capture and it's very script-heavy. All those things that you saw in their previous titles, they're like, okay, we can do this on a smaller budget. And I think that'll be cool. I'm excited to see what Stig comes down what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, because generally speaking, we like Stig. He seems like a really cool guy. His games are cool too, so I'm looking forward to this. Giant Skull, I like that name too. Sounds pretty fun.
If you notice my icon, I'm a pretty scully type of guy, so I dig it.
I know you appreciate that.
I'd dig me some skulls.
So this is what Stig says about the company. We want our players to have a certain degree of autonomy and ownership in the game and agency as they're playing it. We want to make a game that has a momentum to it that you want to keep on playing. And we respect our players. We want to create real, authentic worlds that don't feel random. They feel like there's a rich history and that there's a through line. Good. I love every sentence was better than the last. That's great to hear. Who knows, if that'll happen, but that's good to hear. That's like, hey, we want to make games for the players. Remember when that used to be? Remember when that used to be standard? Remember when they actually used to make video games for video game players? Instead of like these fucking weirdos that don't even play video games and other interest groups. But we're not going to get into that. But if you've been paying attention, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, shout out to Stig, man. It's gonna be 30 people studio, based out of Los Angeles.
That's a big studio for an independent, but it's a small studio for a AAA.
Yeah, so it's AA. Do we dare say?
I would say they're a AA type of studio.
Yeah,
given their lineage, I'm sure. I don't know what the God of War team was back on God of War 1, but I don't think they had like 100 people working on God of War 1.
Who knows, man? It says that this team is comprised of veterans of Star Wars, Jedi, and Fortnite. Interesting.
Yeah, so if their Jedi Fallen was a Unreal game, right?
I'm not sure. I got to look into that. Not 100%
But
sure.
if it's
if
people
it's
from
EA,
Fortnite,
probably not. If it's EA, was probably
Okay.
the was it the Frostbite engine they use? Because you know how EA loves using that engine for everything.
yeah,
But don't quote me
they
on
only
that. Don't
recently
quote me on
started
that.
using started using Unreal stuff.
For which game?
Survivor is Unreal.
Oh, it is Unreal. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
so is
that's
Fallen
the game.
Order.
Fallen Order, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's one of them. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these guys are going to use that engine as well, especially if they're Star Wars, Jedi Survivor, and Fortnite guys. You know,
Yep.
crazy. All right, yeah. Shout out to Stig, man. Shout out to Stig. Okay, Manny, let's talk. Since you brought it up, you could talk about it. Mr. Keeley, he actually acknowledged layoffs.
Yes, he did. So yeah, in this situation, he did manage to say something about Stig in this situation. So, and he also did talk about layoffs, which was, well, one of them was the what was it, the Rooster Teeth layoffs, which is interesting. Well, I think we already said that he doesn't have any stake in Rooster Teeth, so that's why he's able to say something about that. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There was I forgot where I read this one article about it, and the article was basically saying like, oh man, Jeff Keighley came out to say this, and they were like, for a moment, I thought he was finally turning things around. He's going to be a good guy. But then the article went out to say like, oh, but he only did this to promote Summer Game Fest. You know, because basically the gist was, since Summer Game Fest was about to be announced, he didn't want articles to start shitting on him for not talking about the layoffs. So he'll talk about layoffs. So people are like, hey, Jeff Keighley's finally talking about layoffs. And then Summer Game Fest comes around, the announcement, and everybody's happy with Jeff Keighley, So I'm like, I mean, obviously that was just the writer's interpretation. But I'm like, I could believe that. Jeff Keighley seems like that type of guy,
In general, he's playing the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't want his reputation to get in the way of the thing that he wants to promote. So he'll mention something about something that he does not have a full stake in. Like, in other words, again, like the Rooster Teeth thing, a few other things. Where, in other words, Rooster Teeth never sponsored Game Awards. And Rooster Teeth was also falling apart. Ask him to talk about the layoffs of something specific at like Warner Brothers, right? Ask him to talk about a couple of other things that are literally directly affect his sponsorships. So that's why he'll never ever say anything about any of these things. He doesn't. What is the old saying? Don't shit where you eat. That's the same. That's the same thing that goes here.
Yeah,
you're not going to see any of sort of that talk unless it's something that he, number one, has a stake in, which affects his thing, and two, affects people that are his friends.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, it's a classic. I don't want to piss people off because they'll pull out of my award show or my summer show thing. That's the game. That's why
No, go ahead, Carlos. Finish your thought, Carlos. Hold on,
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
That's why, like, all these people who pretend like they're good guys and stuff like that online, it's just a front, man. A lot of these companies, either the forefront, Phil Spencer and all these CEOs, that's part of the game. They try to put that face where it's like, oh, I'm actually a great person. But there's always a motivation behind some of the stuff. And that tweet, there's motivation because, like you guys mentioned, he's trying to simmer down some of the heat that he's been getting. So he's like, oh, well, you can't make fun of me. You can't make fun of me after the Summer Games Fest stuff because look, I tweeted out this thing about people getting their jobs back. Yeah, so it's all just a ruse, man.
It's all calculated.
The champ thing, I would have said he would have been good if he said, what he went when he said one of those things about the layoffs is that we've teamed up with a bunch of our partners to find these people work. And it's part of the Game Awards, the game, the Summer Games Fest job cycle or whatever, right? In other words, get people over. If you're out of work, you come over to Summer Games Fest, and we'll have a bunch of different recruiters for a bunch of companies there. That would be the champ way to do something. In other words, be like, okay, we get it. We're sponsored by a bunch of these assholes who fucking fired you, right? But we have a bunch of things in place for you to try to find some additional work. If you decide to come up, if you come down, or you sign up for this thing.
Yeah, and again, this is something we discussed before, because Jeff Keighley is seen as a spokesperson for the game industry. He's not. He's just not a face. He's a Carson Daly. He's a Ryan Seacrest. He's just a presenter, a very safe presenter. You know,
exactly. You'll go with Jeff Keighley because he won't ruffle the feathers of the studios. He won't do anything like controversial. He's there to present these things to you. One thing I think he also needs to get over is that he can't be a viable voice in the industry if he doesn't have a fucking opinion.
Yeah.
But that him having an opinion also endangers his safety with all of the different what do they call it? His sponsors.
No. But he could defend Kojima all day, every day, you know?
He can give Kojima 8 minutes on a stage talking about nothing and showing nothing.
And then rushing everybody off.
And then rush everybody off. Rush off the guy who literally, a team that literally people said, no, you can't do this. Rushing off that guy. And he was, in his speech, he was going to have something about the layoffs that in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, you can totally give all those people, rush a Japanese person who has to essentially double translate what, essentially he has to have a translator or a localizer literally standing, interpreter literally standing next to him when he says what he needs to say and have the guy repeat it. And you're going to rush that guy off the stage? Even the guy who had Godzilla -1, like, he got more time than those guys. And he couldn't even speak that English very well.
Yeah. My God. And then obviously rushing off the people who won Game of the Year, rushing them off too.
Yeah, rushing them off too.
But yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, because Jeff Keighley's not the spokesperson for the gaming industry. He's not at all. Never has been. Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
He's a spokesperson for the gaming industry capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Dorito Pope. He earned that name for a reason. That
he's a Dorito Pope.
Right.
He's the slayer of E3.
Yeah, right. The Summer Game Fest.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that you see that he literally aggressively went after.
Yeah.
Them. Again, that's why I said, what the fuck did they do to him that he needed to go and literally at every single point step in and start pushing back? Something he did, and it's the first time I've ever seen this guy show any balls in public.
Yeah, right.
Besides the whole Kojima thing, but that
But that's a safe thing, though. Him defending Kojima.
It's safe because because it involves Kojima and everybody's opinions about Kojima in that situation are all aligned.
Yeah, so it's safe, All right, man. Moving on here. We were talking about that. Oh yeah, some good news. One of Throwdown's favorite games.
Good news, everyone.
Yeah. One of Throwdown's favorite games. A game we actually streamed heavily back in the day. Sold 25 million copies. We are, of course, talking about Monster Hunter World. That's crazy, man. The game is still selling, apparently.
How many?
25 million. It is the biggest selling game in Capcom's entire library, dude. That's crazy.
I wonder if they'll get a clue.
Yeah, right. Like, yo, can look at that sequel though. You know, that's nuts. I remember like when the game dropped, it was already like one of the biggest sellers ever for Capcom. You know, and this was 2018. Yeah, that was a good year, man. That was a good year for gaming. You know, probably arguably the last good year of gaming that we've had. You know, because it all kind of went downhill after that. You know. So this is okay. So the game had already sold 19.6 million copies at the end of last year, but with Monster Hunter, Iceborne Master Edition. So that's what would bumped it up. Interesting. But yeah, now it's 25 million. Brian, what's up, man?
Oh no, I was about to say that the Master Edition was out for some time. I think the weird push was, I don't know why, but there was this hashtag on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, return to world, and for some odd reason, everyone just like flocked back to world afterwards, and it just did really well. Yeah, I'm surprised at the numbers, and this is what Tony was saying. Well, this is what most people have been saying for a long time. Like, you need to put Monster Hunter on a real console, like a real place, you know, because previously it's all been 3DS or PlayStation Port.
Yeah, PSP. Yeah, it was on PSP.
Yeah, PSP. I was like, which one is it?
Yeah, not that other one.
It's all been on handheld stuff and on the Wii, so it's like, okay, and even on the Switch. So it's like, okay, put it on a real machine and see what happens. And then they did, and it sold great. So again, hopefully they learn from this and they say, hey, you know what, let's just do this from now on, you know, put it on the big boy machines, you know, on the grown consoles, if you wish.
And PC too, because it sold a lot on PC as well, you know. And Brian, you'll like this too. Iceborne, 11.6 million copies since going on sale in 2019. That's impressive, man.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Iceborne was the shit. Yeah, good stuff, man. And apparently the Monster Hunter franchise as a whole has sold 97 million copies. Damn. You know? Yeah. Jay Shep goes, cue Richard Bailey Jr., grown man gaming. You know? Good stuff, man. So yeah, shout out to Monster Hunter and Capcom. Come on. Where's that sequel? Monster Hunter Paradise, man. The big boy gaming. You know?
One of the biggest travesties of that game, Throwdown wise, was that Brian fell in love with that game a year or two after we
were done with it. You know, it's crazy, and then he surpassed us.
Yeah, he pretty much ran circles around that game.
You know, because we did play with Ryan one time. He's like, "Yo, what the fuck you guys doing?"
You got the platinum in that. Yep. You got the platinum in that, right, Brian?
Yep, that's how hard I fell in love with it. And the cool thing is that even the DLC has a platinum, but I'm not that crazy because the OG one was stupid enough. But yeah, it's just so good. Like, it's a weird game loop, but it's a simple loop, but it's a good loop, and it works really well. And this is what I was on about when I was talking about Helldivers. Like, Monster Hunter is a game that's fun, no matter how many people are playing it. Like, you can play it solo, have fun. You can play it with like 2, 3, 4 people, still have fun. Friends, randoms, it's still fun.
The Japanese,
extremely fun because you just sit there and just watch it happen. You know, it's like, cool, have fun, guys. You know, yeah, it just works really well, and it's a really good formula. So hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah. That's the thing I liked about Monster Hunter. It's like, you know, it does have a like a difficulty selector. If you want easy mode, play with some Japanese guys. You know, you got props for the fucking monster. You play with them Japanese cats, man. You know,
they'll give you the Sealy tour.
Yeah. So you just gotta hang back, like, okay, I'm useless here. You guys handle this. You're just like, I'm ready to fight. Oh shit, they already killed it. Fuck. All right.
The first time you start playing with Japanese dudes on Monster Hunter, and you're fighting like those two bezel guys and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one, man. I was like, I'm useless here. You guys handle this.
and they're like, you're like, man, I have a hammer, and these guys are just in the sky the whole time, and these guys are just flying around with their insect glaives, and at the same time they're healing you.
Yeah, it's like, okay. And then they give you props in the end. It's crazy, Yo, I still remember my cousin one time. I think he must have got paired up with like some Japanese kids or something, man, because he went in there and they didn't do anything. He got wrecked. He with his deep voice like, "Yo, man, what the fuck? You're supposed to be natural born kaiju killers. What the fuck is this shit?" Oh man, we had some good times, man. That was good. So if Paradise drops, man, we're bringing those streams back. Mm-hmm. We had some heads come through on those streams too. Riku-san would show up.
Dio.
Yeah, it's good times, man. Good times. Monster Hunter, man. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, and Rich, I want to bring you in on this. We got to talk about Rise of the Ronin. The previews were out this week, and you and I can acknowledge we've been playing this game. You mostly, because as I've said many times on Throwdown, any game that has a parrying system, I am trash at. I am trash at this game. I was getting worked, son. The game's cool. I have my main issue is like the graphics. I'm like, why does this shit look like a PS3 game? But I like what they're doing. I give them respect. I only played like an hour. Here's the thing with the preview, we were only allowed to talk about the first 2 hours anyway, so I played like half the shit. But yeah, I was getting fucking wrecked, man. I can never get the fucking timing down. But I suck at parrying in games. That's why when Sekiro, when I saw Chris streaming that shit, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not playing that. I'll be getting fucked up. Despite my love from software games. But yeah, Rich, if you want to tell us about Rise of the Ronin, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, so I have been spending quite a bit of time with Rise of Ronin, as well as Tony mentioned. Obviously, if you know enough about me, you know that I really liked Ghost of Tsushima. That was the selling point for me when I saw that this game takes place within a similar time period. But I just want to say right now, this is not Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, so when you go into this game, do not think this is exactly the same. There are some similarities to it. But obviously, like you said, for the preview, we were only allowed to play the first 2 hours of the game. I'm actually further along now. So I just started working on my review, and the review does go up next week, I believe, the 21st. But what I will say is this. What you said about the graphics, Tony, I agree 1,000%. This game has been in development since 2015. And I know that I've seen, there's some previews that have been out there and people are talking about, I saw a couple people saying, well, Team Ninja is never really known for their graphics. I understand that. But what I will say is this is an open world game. This is a game that does not feel like it should be only on PlayStation 5. This could be on PS4.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, it could be on PS3 as well, because it doesn't feel like it's doing anything that requires you needing a PS5. But with that said, I am enjoying the story so far. I can't really get into any spoiler territory.
Real quick, Jay Shep, no, it's not first party. It's Team Ninja, Bandai Namco, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's not first party. But yeah, like I said, I can't really get into the story. I will say the story is interesting. It's taken quite an interesting couple of turns in terms of what's happening. But the combat is really good. You can, of course, switch to different styles, just like you could in Ghost of Tsushima. Another thing I do want to mention, though, now, obviously, you are able to create how you want your Ronin to look, your samurai to look at the very beginning of the game. And there is an option when you create your character to determine the tone of their voice. Well, let me tell you right now, in this game, as you're playing through the game, you have these conversations with various characters. It's all text-based conversations. So they hardly make use of the fact that you actually have a voice. And again, I understand it's a very ambitious game. They can't put all this stuff in the game, but I feel like it was completely unnecessary to have that as an option from the beginning when it's just going to be all text-based conversations. You do get to make choices on certain things you say. And of course, there are a lot of different factions because the time it takes place, there's a lot of things happening with different factions who have different ideologies, so on and so forth. So you can try to make your choice and shape who you want to work with, and then that allows you to do other things. But overall, I would say so far, I think it's a pretty good game. It does have its faults to a degree, but overall, I'm still having a pretty good time playing it. And to go to what Tony said, yes, it is difficult. Okay, in the beginning, obviously when I started playing, I was able to. I didn't really have any issue with some of the regular enemies, but when you get to those boss battles. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got my ass whooped several times. But hey, once you finally figure it out, it's a great feeling. Similar to how you guys feel when you were doing Elden Ring. And maybe, if you played any game where it took a while to learn how to, learn how a boss is moving, how to attack them. It's a great feeling once you actually accomplish it. So in those regards, if you like that type of stuff, you will be satisfied. But I would say, yes, it's a pretty good game. And I would say I'll have a lot more thoughts next week on it. So stay tuned to the Coalition.
Yeah. Jay Shep is asking you, what would you score it? I think wait until the review for that,
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate the question. We are not allowed to talk about any scores quite yet. Yeah. But yes, next week on the Throwdown, I will let you know what my score would be.
Let's
How about
fucking go. Yes. I love it. Good stuff, man. Good stuff, man. So yeah, thanks for that, Rich, giving us that in-depth analysis there. That I unfortunately was not able to provide because I suck at this game, But I will agree with you because again, I pushed through it the 2 hours or whatever we were supposed to play, and yes, once you slowly start figuring out the bosses and you beat them, it feels good, Mm-hmm. It's good stuff, man. Yeah. Richard is not going to NDA himself, Jay Shep. So thanks for understanding. You don't get everybody in trouble, All right, man. Since we still got some time here, let's discuss the games we've been playing lately. Rich, have you played anything besides Rise of Ronin, or has that been your focus?
That is a good question. So yes, I have played Rise of Ronin. I've been playing a little bit of WWE 2K24. If you are a wrestling fan, check out Adam's review on the website. Aside from that, I have also been playing this Contra game that I believe we spoke about briefly. Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about that, please.
Okay, so I have to admit, I think the game is just okay. All right, now I know that this is kind of like I don't know if they want to call it like it's not really a remaster. I guess you could say a re-envisioning, whatever the word there is they're going to use to describe it.
So, Rich, is it fair to say that we shouldn't call it a comeback?
Well, here's the thing. I think this is a game that I don't know what's up with this game on PlayStation because I haven't played on PC. Now, I heard the people who have been playing on PC, it's been awesome. It kind of feels like there's a bit of a delay when you do certain stuff on the console version. Now, I don't know if they released a day one patch because I haven't checked to see. I didn't get any alerts about any updates, so I don't know. But, the game is a lot of fun. But yes, this is another game where it is very easy to, and again, I haven't played the original Contra games in a while. I don't know how easy it was or how difficult it was, but this game, if you're playing by yourself, it can get pretty difficult, because, if you take too many hits, your character dies. You have only a certain number of lives before the game is over. So, and again, you can restart, of course, but I will say the art style, graphically, the game looks pretty good, I would say. It is fun, but it definitely is challenging. But I would say right now, if you are a Contra fan, maybe you can check it out. It doesn't really cost that much. It's worth checking out, I would say, at the very least, just to know whether or not you're interested. But yeah, it's I'll say it's okay for now.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
Not anything else that I can talk about.
Let's go.
But I will say this. I'll have a little bit more to say next week.
All right, fair enough. Right here on Throwdown, over on the Coalition. All right, Chris, what have you been playing lately?
When I get a little time, I'm trying to platinum Pacific Drive.
Oh shit!
So I beat the story mode, and I didn't realize there was a trophy that has to do with getting everything in the garage, like every upgrade and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one of them requires you to actually die, because when you die, your car is called like a remnant or something like that. It's possessed, right? And you have to die and then get regenerated back at the garage, and then you go back out and you find the ghost of your car to get your stuff back. It's kind of like Dark Souls. It's like, oh, I gotta get all your shit is in there, everything that you had on the road. So I have to do that. I realized I beat the story, and I was like, oh yeah, I actually barely made it through everything, but I didn't actually die. So I have to die to get that last trophy. And also the farming gets really hard at the end. Like there's these rare elements that you constantly have to go out to these areas and then keep farming them and try to re-roll them and farm them again. So that is like a pain in the ass, and I don't have a lot of time to play, so I end up like giving up and then restarting the trip, and I don't know. But I do enjoy some of it. I wish there was a little more like enemies and stuff, but overall I think it's a good game. I'm enjoying it.
Good stuff. Brian, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing mostly Tales of Arise recently.
Ooh, great game. Great game.
It's extremely fun and addicting. That's like my, not Twitch game, it's my Steam Deck game at the moment. So anytime I take a break, just take out some Tales of Arise. So yeah, that's mostly it. I think I'm level 27-ish. So just got all 6 party members, not a spoiler. And so I guess this where the game begins to open up. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm loving the combat. It's so much fun. It's so good. Yeah, and just waiting. I'm just filling in space until Dragon's Dogma 2, to be honest. Because I did have the idea that I'll start something new, but I was like, nah, just finish stuff that you have, and then Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out. So that's about me.
Yeah, makes me very happy that you're playing Tales of Arise. That game is I was obsessed with that, man. When it first came out, played that, and I didn't have to review it. I just played it as I wanted. That was a great game. Like, and and here's the thing: I like Tales of games, but there was something about that one, man, that it hits right. So that's dope. You're playing it. Brett, what have you been playing lately, sir? Let's see if he's around. He may not be around. I'll come back to Brett. Carlos, what have you been playing lately?
Just a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but not enough to talk about it, because I've really only played like an hour or two of the game.
Oh shit! Damn, you've been busy lately then.
Yeah, these last couple of weeks have been pretty busy, so I haven't had much chance. But yeah, I mean that's the game that I'm gonna be playing for a while until I beat it. So stay tuned.
There you go. Manny, have you been playing anything?
I've been playing Evil West slowly but surely. So it's again it's been a fun little romp. Not super long, but very cool stuff. And and right now I'm in the waiting process as to when Hi-Fi Rush comes out on PlayStation. I already pre-ordered it, so it's going to be coming out next week. So it'll be fun.
Good stuff. And as for myself, yes, I played Rise of Ronin, got bodied, so didn't go back to. I'll probably play the game again later because it does seem kind of cool. You know, although I kind of still like Ghost of Tsushima's combat a little better because it's more accessible to me. I'm like that. That's the only time, one of the few times where I like the parrying because it seems like it's long enough. And this one is like, you got to be fucking quick, man. Maybe I should just plug the controller in, lessen the latency. I don't know, man, because it's like I pressed it. Why the fuck isn't it working? You know, or maybe it's just my slow ass reactions. But good stuff. What's up?
Some games do offer like the ability to adjust the timing. At least for a game for Hi-Fi Rush, there is actually a thing to adjust the timing of stuff that's happening. So,
but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it, man.
Yeah, I won't do it. I still have my pride. You know. I
mean, it's their fault. It's their fault. The latency is off. So.
Oh no, it could be me. I'm a fucking old man. You know, I always knew there would be a time where. Yeah, I always. Here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. Like even when I was like deep, like when gaming was my main hobby, I always knew there's probably going to be a point where you can't play games anymore unless they're JRPGs because your reaction's going to be all off. You know, so it could be that.
Here's the thing. Like, there's alternate. Some games offer different things. One of them is they obviously slowing down the game, but there's also ones where you can essentially increase the time to match up when you press a button. So like what they'll do is they'll give you a little bar and they'll have like a beat on it, and then you press it along with the beat, right? And you're like, oh fuck, it's not working right. And you can adjust to where it matches up with what you're pressing. So it's not like slowing down the game, it's more like it's essentially adjusting the way the latency works.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
So, I mean, I don't know if Rise of the Ronin has something like
Probably
that,
not.
but it should because it is a very sort of timing based sort of game.
Hey Brian, I think you should answer this question. Yo, is Shadow of War still worth playing? It's $5 in the PSN store.
Yes.
All right, there's their answer. And I'm glad I tossed it to you because my answer would have been no. But that's based off the original version of the game. You played the actual version as it exists now. The original version was fucking terrible. Terrible game. Right, and okay, so I've been playing Rise of Ronin, I played, I should say. The game I've been playing may surprise some of you, but also not surprise any of you, you know? Because I'm keeping it real, man. I'm still very, very upset. Fucking Akira Toriyama died, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna replay Dragon Ball Kakarot. I don't like the game. I don't think it's a good game, but it does a good job of putting you in that Dragon Ball world that he created. All that weird quirkiness and stuff, you know? So it's been fun seeing, the story that we know play out, but with Bandai Namco kind of filling in little things here and there. Like, you know how for example, Gohan was out in the forest, for 6 months by himself. It's like you get to play what he did during that time, for example, hunting dinosaurs and shit like that. So it's been fun, and then just doing side missions for characters, like Baba and shit. So I've been enjoying the game, from that standpoint, and I'm actually going to write an article about that. Because again, it's like, man, that shit hits hard, man. Fucking Akira Toriyama, so it's been good. But my feelings about the actual gameplay have not changed. It's not a good game. It's not at all. But to be fair, no Dragon Ball, except for Fighter Z, which is a Arc System Works game. I don't like any Dragon Ball game. I don't like any anime games. They all control bad to me,
Look at you going back to old games.
I went to an old game, man. I went back to an old game. And here's the funny thing, fun story. So that game came out in February 2020. You know what happened a month later? And I actually reviewed it for 2 different publications. I reviewed it for PC Mag and for Geek.com. And here's the funny thing, some insider baseball shit. I was like, because they're under the same parent company. I'm like, can I review the game for 2 different for the same companies? They're like, as long as the copy's different, what I wrote is different, go ahead. So for PC Mag, I wrote it in their house style, which is very formal, no I or nothing. And then for Geek.com, I pretty much just gushed about Dragon Ball for a fucking review. I pretty much just used it as used to talk about my love for Dragon Ball, which is what I'm going to do tomorrow when I write about the game again. because Tom's Guide has a column every week what we've been playing. So I was like, yo, I want to do one on Dragon Ball to talk about Toriyama. And they were like, yeah, go ahead, That's what I really like about Tom's Guide, man. I've never been told no for any idea that I've had when it comes to editorial, because they want that. They want your personal take on stuff, Shout out to Tom's Guide, man. They treat me well over there. So yes, I've been playing Kakarot. I'm probably just gonna, because I didn't finish the first game. The first time I got up to the Frieza saga, finished that. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I could write my review now. I know what I'm in for, And Manny, I know you said that's when Dragon Ball kind of ends,
Yeah, it kind of ends. I mean, it's also like, essentially how after that Trunks literally chops him in half in like 2 seconds, and it's like, all right, fuck the. Then after that, it's just all like, it's just the power creep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got up to that. So I'm going to go, because obviously it goes all the way through the Buu saga. Berserker Guts.
This probably hits the super shit too, doesn't it?
No super stuff. It just goes up to the original stuff. No super.
Then that's Cell Games, and
Buu saga,
Buu
all that. One of the DLCs has GT shit, believe it or not, which is interesting. That like kind of,
man, I ain't touching that.
Yeah, I was like like that kid that was Boo but backwards, like Oob, like he's him. Like that's a choice, But I'm not sure if the DLCs ever brought the super stuff. But the core game is the original manga, from the the Saijin arc all the way to the end of the Cell Games.
Did they have the RPG people?
The RPG people?
You said. Do you remember the RPG people? The one of the side quest ones where I think it's like Krillin and Bulma going into space to go to oh
no, they didn't. They didn't have that
Namek?
stuff. No, they didn't have the side stuff they added is their own side quest, not what was aired. The filler arcs, basically. No, they didn't. They didn't do the filler arcs. They just did their own filler stuff. For the game. That's appropriate to a video game. It's like, hey, collect this for me, beat this guy for me. Stuff like that. Berserker Gut says, Tony, low key, since I've gotten older, I think I like original Dragon Ball more than Z.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, because again, that yearning is there, man. Because I haven't touched Dragon Ball at all. I want to fill that gap. So I may, Carlos, I think I'm considering something that would be blasphemous for me.
Subs over dubs?
No. Even more extreme. And of course, and with Dragon Ball, it would be subs over dubs. Dragon Balls, that's one of them, man. It's got to be the subs. I need those voices, man. No, what would be something even more extreme for Tony?
Extreme for Tony in Dragon anime.
Berserker Guts just said it in the chat. I think
know who it is. Is the manga guy.
I think I want to read the manga, son.
It'll go fast.
Yeah. Although, in all fairness, though, the only other manga I've read was Dragon Ball Z, so it wouldn't be that much of a stretch. I've read Akira too, but that's it. Although I think the Akira I read was like the American one, where it was like the art was all flipped, and I'm like, what's going on here?
You didn't read the flipped one.
Did I read the good one?
You read the Dark Horse one. That was the one where it was produced properly.
Yeah,
you weren't.
I read some whatever Evil Chris had, and it didn't seem very official, if you know what I mean.
Well, no, there was one that was made by Marvel years ago, before any of all this stuff.
The flip one?
Those are the flipped ones, and those are in color.
Okay, yeah.
But if you
I didn't read that because when I read it was in black and white.
You didn't read any of those.
Yeah,
those were flipped in color.
Yeah. Illustrated Dio, what's going on, man? He goes, what's up, peeps? Glad I could catch my peeps live. Anybody hype for Ghostbusters? I'm seeing it day one since I got to entertain from out of town. I'm actually reading the giant-sized manga Akira collection. Cool. Ghostbusters, the Frozen movie, I guess.
The Frozen Empire.
Yeah, I'm not watching. I don't care.
I mean, I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate. I thought the last one wasn't half bad. So let's see what they do with the second one.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm considering that, but I'm like, what do I read it on? You know? Like, do I read it on the Kindle? It's going to be too small, but it'll look better, or the iPad, but it's going to have that glare. So I don't know. Because I'm not going to buy physical. I don't have space for that. Because imagine buying all those fucking volumes and shit, you know?
Oh yeah.
Although that would be cool, you know? I'm telling you, man, if I ever move to a bigger place, I'm buying more physical shit again, you know? I'm just restricted right now. Throwdown Show, not game related, but what do you think about Marvel's announcement of cutting back unnecessary movies? About fucking time, all that trash. You know, they canceled Miss Marvel 3 or whatever the fuck it was called. They canceled the Ant-Man 4. But you know, and I said this on Twitter too. It doesn't change my mind. I'm done. I'm absolutely done. You know, I don't give a fuck about X-Men 97. That looks fucking terrible too. I saw people hyped. I'm like, are you kidding me? This looks like shit. You know? So I'm done with all this stuff. Only Segway Kings right now, man. The only superhero show I fuck with is Invincible, which returns, or has returned, I should say, which also means the Invincible podcast returns this weekend, people, you know, with your host, me, Miss Dana Abercrombie, maybe Brett, Carlos will be there, maybe Richard. So this weekend, probably Saturday evening-ish, we will return to cover the final 4 episodes of Invincible, so stay tuned for that. And Rich, what else is going on the Coalition?
Oh, yes. So, once again, we will be recording our next episode of Carlos's favorite show, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. Yes. We will be recording our next episode 4, this weekend. You can check out all 3 of the episodes on our YouTube channel as well as the website if you haven't checked it out and you're a Walking Dead fan. Also, the last 2 days, myself, Dana, and Gary, there's been a lot of news on Power. So I don't know if you are a Power fan. I'm not talking about that shit, that program that was on PlayStation before. I'm talking about this is a different type of show. Yeah. Power on the Stars Network. Because apparently they announced that the next season of this other Power show, the show is ending. So we did talk about that today, as well as yesterday they announced a new spinoff that they're also coming out with. So if you are interested in that, check it out at the Coalition, the website, as well as the YouTube channel. And as I mentioned before, we do have quite a bit of reviews coming next week to the website. So stay tuned for all of that.
Yeah, Rich, Barry Burton asked, when does the Fallout podcast start?
Well, that is an outstanding question, Barry. From what I understand, that is going to happen sometime in April because I think the show is in April. Dana and Gary are the ones that are in charge of that. So, you know, I don't know if anyone else is going to be on the show. Obviously, you all are welcome to be on the show as well. But we'll definitely communicate that in more details next month. So stay tuned.
That's going to be an interesting podcast because all episodes are being released at once, you know?
Exactly. So I guess it's more like a review talking about the season and what we thought about the season. I will tell you right now, I am not the biggest Fallout fan, so I might not be on that show. But, you know, the invitation is open for any of you guys as well as Brett, because I know Brett is a huge Fallout fan. So if y'all want to be on the show, we can make that happen. Dope. But Gary for sure is going to be on it. Gary is a fan. He'll be on that for sure. So.
Oh, yeah. You already know. Yeah. I like Fallout, but I think this show is going to be trash. So I am staying away. You know, I don't think it's going to be a good show at all. It looks like Fallout. I'll give them that. The production and all that, they got that shit right. But again, you know my feelings about modern Hollywood writers, so I'll have to wait and see on that. You know, I think it's gonna be fucking terrible, just like most TV shows and movies are nowadays. To be fair, you know, I just come at it from my standpoint. This is shit unless I'm proven, you know, otherwise, and most of the time I'm right, believe it or not. All right, man. What's up?
There's a lot of good TV going around. You just don't watch it.
Yeah, I'm good. Read this from Mr. Dio here. Bastard anime on Netflix is pretty lit. I also think they're remaking Berserk again. Stop it. How much torture can you put us through? Stop. Don't leave it alone. By the way, I pre-ordered the original Berserk. That's coming back on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, same here. Have it.
You got that shit on Blu-ray? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yep, they did a fresh new version. What are those guys? Discotech Media.
Yeah,
So
Discotech. They do a really good job with stuff, man. Like when they put shit on pre-order, I'm like, get it. And I haven't been disappointed since.
If you guys are into seeing getting stuff, they actually do regular streams, and they talk about all the different things that they're going to be coming out with. And they talked about that Berserk one, and they said, yeah, that one is is off of a fresh release from Japan, so it's new. It's a fresh new version of it, and they got the rights to all the original voice acting, so they can put that all in. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. Berserker also pre-ordered it, Manny. So very good stuff. Berserker, even with that name? Yes, that makes sense, man. Let's see. What does he say? Berserk, you're crazy, bro. So yeah, Berserk, go get that. By the way, Manny, I don't know if there's this one guy who reviews like physical like DVDs. I mean, he's kind of like a younger guy with a beard and stuff. He reviewed the Alien. He reviewed like a bunch of James Cameron 4Ks that recently came out. So I had pre-ordered Alien in 4K. I saw his review. I canceled the pre-order. Because they fucking use some AI shit to make it cleaner. No, I want it the way it's supposed to be. Don't clean the shit up with fucking AI, man.
Just give me a fresh scan.
That's it.
Of it.
Yeah,
and that's it. Like it doesn't need. Yeah, True Lies looks like utterly atrocious, and a bunch of his other films look all fucked around with. It's like, Cam, just leave the shit alone, put it out, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you the link, but he reviewed all three of them, and he kind of did it in order of best to worst in terms of the reproduction. So he says The Abyss was probably the best one. It didn't do too much. Then fucking Aliens, and then True Lies, which apparently like it looks horrible.
Yeah, it looks like painted.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
But here's the interesting thing. This is something we've talked about many, many times when it comes to reviews. You can hear a positive review and still say no. Because even though he wasn't the biggest fan of the changes, he still said buy the DVDs. He still liked them, And I'm like, no, I'm good. I've canceled that pre-order. I want what I remember. Don't fuck it around, man. It's like, come on, bro. I want that film grain, if you guys ever seen the 4K of Predator, oh, so well done. You can see how grimy that movie is. I don't clean that up.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like officially, as far as real films go, that the most truest 4K scan that you could ever get is from an original film element, because you're literally getting more detail as opposed to modern films, which are done at 2K and upscaled. So what does Cameron want his films to look like? He wants them to look like upscaled films?
Yeah, that's basically what the whole idea is. He wants them to look like a modern film. I don't want it to look like a modern film. I want him to look at the fucking films that came out at that time. Just nicer looking, like for my TV. But like you said, when you like rescan the old like movies, they look, you should see more detail than what was there. But they're not adding shit. They're not doing all this fucking trickery. So yeah, that's very disappointed, man. Very disappointing. Aliens is one of my top 3 movies of all time, and another fucking James Cameron movie that's been just treated terribly with home releases. Terminator. I think the last good one we got was on that Steelbox DVD from like over 20 years ago. And man, don't get me started. Anyway, let's get out of here. Another good show. Make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord. where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. Shout out to you guys for dropping that news in there. That's where I get all this stuff from. So shout out to you and the cool conversations. I jump in there every once in a while, see what's going on, you know. Good stuff. Throwdown, we're also on every podcast app on the planet. Throwdown Show, that's 2 words, Throwdown Space Show, you know. We are also on the internet, obviously, throwdownshow.com. You can listen to past episodes. And again, we're back on YouTube, so if you like our videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of not only when the show goes live every Thursday and Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, but the random Throwdown clip that may just appear out of nowhere, you know. But yeah, for everything else, make sure you check out the description below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Let's try this again. Brett Murdoch.
I'm here now.
Hey, there he is. Brian Manjoma.
Hey, people.
And Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, guys, you already know. We'll be back on Sunday. Later.